need my glasses. Hello, everyone. Welcome to GEG Nebraska. My name is Mickie Mueller. I'm one of the co-moderators of GEG Nebraska. And with me, as always, is Otis.
Hi, everybody.
We're together.
We're in person. Otis Pierce at ESU 7, and we are together at ESU 7 in Columbus today, and excited to do that and see each other face to face.
So this is new for us. We're in the same location. We've got our mics muted. We've got an external mic. So if you're having audio issues, if you want to let us know in the comments, we'll try and sort those out. But we're thinking this is going to work. And why are we together, you might ask? Well, if you weren't with us in May when we did our last GEG, I actually retired in May. So I have the flexibility now to be able to go down to Columbus for the afternoon and hang out with Otis. So here I am.
And here we are. This is great. We haven't done this for a while. And Mickie and I were talking before. It's like, when was the last time we saw each other in person? And I actually think it was prior to COVID. So it's been a long time, and it's good to be in person. Excited for this. And hopefully this works out for us, and it may happen again in the future.
You never know. Now that I'm flexible with my schedule, we might do this more often together in the same locale. So we are excited to be back with you, and we have a lot of Google news to cover, from the ISTE announcements to everything that's happened since then. And as I was putting the agenda together, I don't know about you, Otis, but I noticed a lot of artificial intelligence.
There's a lot of artificial intelligence, and there's even one I told Mickie about today that happened about 3 hours ago.
Yeah, so hot off the presses. Mm-hmm. We're going to have a big announcement for that. So I'm not sure if Google has actually been working on anything else other than artificial intelligence, quite honestly.
I haven't seen very many new blue dots in the menus for Drive or Slides or Sheets.
Yeah, it is everywhere. So and they're putting it into everything. Mm-hmm. Now, I don't know that that's necessarily a good thing or a bad thing. You know, everybody needs to make their own conclusions when it comes to that. But we do have a lot of AI stuff on the agendas today.
Yeah, that'll be exciting. And so let's hop in and let's start talking Google AI.
Okay. So one of the things that just recently has come out is they have, Google has created some AI literacy tools, and these tools are available for multiple groups of people. They have put together some AI literacy resources for parents, which includes a podcast specifically targeted towards parents and caregivers, as well as a video series.
Yeah, and those resources are really good to have as at least a starting point too, to create your own or to use to help parents, students, teachers understand that. And it's great. You know, there's that self-paced course for educators with Gemini too, if you're wanting to dig into Gemini a little bit more as well.
And I will, to be honest, I actually did that course yesterday. I don't know that it took me 2 hours to do that. I probably didn't pay as close attention as I could have. But in addition to that, they also, Google has also produced an AI Gemini certification for educators. And so I wanted to do the course before I actually took the certification exam. The certification exam is currently free. For most of those certifications, for example, if you want to become a Google Educator Level 1 or Level 2 or a trainer, you have to pay for the certification exams. This Gemini certification is free, I believe, until March. So you have quite a while if you want to actually do that. It was 37 questions, and you have, I think, 2 hours to complete the exam. It was multiple choice, true, false, that type of thing. And so several of the questions didn't have anything to do with the training that you were supposed to take before you did the exam. So, but again, it's one of those things where you're not being proctored. Nobody's watching you. So you just open up another tab if you don't know the answer to the question and you Google it. And I did that. And like I said, I don't know that I needed to take the course before I took the certification exam. But most people probably would want to take the course before they took the exam.
Yeah, especially if you haven't been in Gemini a whole lot, or AI a whole lot as well, having that there. But it's also, like Mickie had said, opened up another tab. Well, they kind of want you to Google those things if you don't know how to do it as well. And remembering way back to when I became certified, it was you had multiple screens and tabs open as well to be able to do that to help you out, because they want you to be able to find it.
Yeah. Another one of the AI literacy resources that they've put together, another audience that they've put resources together for, are students. And so there's some AI literacy resources now included in the Be Internet Awesome lessons. There's an AI course developed with the Raspberry Pi Foundation and Google DeepMind. And there are AI quests that are embedded into Experience AI and Craft, which are a set of lessons around artificial intelligence developed by Stanford. I did one of the quests this week for the student quests, and it was around flooding, predicting floods. And it was a simulation where you went through a series of steps, kind of a cartoon character took you through a series of steps, and you were supposed to do a variety of different things to learn how you can train an AI tool to predict where flooding is going to happen. And that's based on an actual program that DeepMind has currently to help predict floods.
Yeah, so good resources for kids there. I will put a slight little plug in. We are talking AI at the Nebraska Digital Citizenship Symposium this year as well. We have Kristen Matson will be joining us via Zoom. Information more than likely has been sent out to Nebraska school administrators on how to register for that, and maybe your tech integration person, library person, hosting at 5 sites around the state, one at ESU 13, one at ESU 10, ESU 7, ESU 5, and ESU 3 are all hosting sites. And that's coming up here on October 8th. So if you need more information, contact your ESU person.
And so that's you go in person to a site.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And
Correct.
but it's on Zoom.
It's on Zoom.
Okay.
You come in person to one of those sites, $20 per person. That gets you your kids' food, team of up to 6 students, 5 to 6 students and an adult to come and do that, and be able to take some things back to share with your school as well on that. And Kristen Matson is a good person for us to have and get us working with us on some other things around digital citizenship and media literacy and AI literacy as well. Okay,
so that's an event that's coming up that you might be interested in. Another course that they have that Google has released recently is Chromebooks for educators. And this is a great course, which I took this course as well. But this is good if you have teachers who, not only if their teachers are using Chromebooks, but if you have students who are using Chromebooks, this would give the teachers more information about some different tools that are specific to the Chromebooks. But the one thing that I wanted to point out that it does include, that this course does include, it talks about class tools. And class tools was a newer feature that was talked about last spring. I think it was fully released this fall. But class tools works if both teachers and students are using Chromebooks. And it's basically, if you're familiar with GoGuardian or Hapara, those types of tools where you can kind of see what students are seeing on their screens. That's kind of what this tool is, what class tools is. The teacher can share out information and present that on all of the students' screens. You can see a student's screen, so you can see what they're doing. You can set up and say, okay, I want Classroom to be opened. I want this YouTube video to be open. I want this Google Doc to be open, and push that out to student machines. But in order to use class tools, both teachers and students have to be on Chromebooks. So that Chromebook for Educator course is a good one if you are moving your teachers to Chromebooks. Might be a great course for your teachers to take.
And I've heard of some schools that are starting to do that. Think about that, Chromebooks for teachers, and some that have already done it. I know there was the NETA TIS meeting, and there was some talk about that, asking about, hey, moving teachers to Chromebooks, have you done it? And there was a couple of schools on there that had. So yeah, if your school is going to be going to Chromebooks for everybody, including teachers, that might be a good course to take so that you're ready to go with that.
Yeah, Norfolk has been piloting Chromebook Pluses, and a Chromebook Plus. Actually, I'm using a Chromebook Plus today. That is the device that I chose to purchase for myself. And Chromebook Pluses, they've been piloting Chromebook Pluses for teachers for over the course of the last year. They had 5 to 7 demo models in the shop, and they would pass those out to teachers and have them try them out. And the last I talked to Norfolk, they actually have one building where their teachers have switched out and they are using Chromebook Pluses this year. So when Norfolk refreshes laptops for teachers, which will be in the next year or two, they are probably going to refresh with Chromebook Pluses.
Yeah, and I had Chromebooks to have so that I could understand what was going on with it years ago. But with all our work here at the ESU, we are still MacBook Airs, which is fine. You know, it's up to you on your districts, but yeah, Chromebooks, if you take that course, it's going to help you out if your school decides to go that way. It kind of, in a way, kind of reminds me of back to when was one-to-one when I was in Sutherland, and we started out with IBMs, and then they said we're going to Macs, and I go, I do not want to go to a Mac. I want to keep my PC. Went to a Mac, and now I don't want to go back, kind of thing. It's probably some of that. It's just getting used to it. It's something new, and it's getting used to it.
Yeah, and I think for the majority of teachers, what you're doing is online in the cloud. Mm-hmm. And if you're a Google school, you're encouraged to use Chrome anyway. So Chrome on a Windows machine, if you use Chrome on a Windows machine or Chrome on a Mac, you can use a Chromebook. And so I think that's an important distinction to make. Speaking of Chromebook specific tools, one issue that has been had in the past is that you weren't always able to connect a document camera to a Chromebook. But Google has fixed that. They've come out with an app called Camera Studio, and this will allow a Chromebook to connect to any document camera, any make and model of a document camera. You do need the Camera Studio web app installed on your device, but then it's pretty much plug and play, and it will allow you to use. So I know math teachers especially like to use document cameras. I know a lot of elementary teachers use document cameras. And so if you have your teachers on Chromebooks, the Camera Studio app would be a great app to install. That has been just released by Google within the last couple of months.
Yeah, and that would be a great tool to have as well. So some things that you may know of or may not have, and this is going to be coming down. This is kind of AI, kind of not, but Americans with Disability Act, the accessibility for websites and any content you put on the web. Enforcement is starting to happen depending on your district size or area you serve size. If you are 50,000 in total population, according to the census, 50,000 people or less in your service area. So like take, for example, a town of Norfolk. Norfolk's not at 50,000 people, or Columbus is not at 50,000 people. You have until April of 2027 to be, they call it Web Content Accessibility Guidelines, or WCAG 2.1 AA compliant. For those that are 50,000 or above, you have until April of 2026. ESU 7, our entire service area is 50,000 or above. So we have until April of next year. So that is your websites being able to be read by a screen reader, your any PDFs that you have on that website being able to be read by a screen reader, any social media you put out being able to be read by a screen reader. So just some things to start thinking about. So when you're in a Google Doc, for example, let's bring us back to Google. When you're in a Google Doc, using your heading 1, heading 2, heading 3, paragraph. Screen readers don't like tables. So if you like tables, I'm sorry. Screen readers don't really like that at times. So just something to start thinking about. Just wanted to put a bug in everybody's ear with some of those things that are coming around, because as we are putting everything in the cloud, is it accessible to do that. So the enforcement is going to be starting to happen.
Yeah, that was a big pivot.
Yeah, that was a huge pivot.
Huge. But we did talk about this, not in detail, but we talked about it at length in May. So if you go back to our May episode, we did start to talk about the ADA accessibility guidelines in that episode, probably a little bit more than what we'll get into here.
Yep.
But things like Otis mentioned social media. So making sure you have alt text on your images, whether it's social media or your images on your websites, those kinds of things all have to do with those ADA guidelines. And if you're interested in more in that, I would contact your ESU. Mm-hmm. They should be able to help guide you along that process. I
would agree with that. The ESUs are going to be kind of helping out with this. We have trainings for ourselves this year, but reach out to your ESUs. They'll be able to help you along with that.
Yeah. Okay, so now we're going to go back to Google stuff.
Shift back.
And we're going to go back to the ISTE announcements. So ISTE happens at the end of June every year, and that's the big technology showcase in the United States. It's international, actually, but it usually happens in the United States. And Google always has major launches during the ISTE time. So we're going to hit some of those launches that happened back in June. And you know what's really funny? When you leave a district that you've been a part of for so many years, you have to untangle yourself from, which account did you do this in? Which account did you do that in? I did some of my personal account, some of my school account. Well, one of the things that I forgot to share with my personal account was our thumbnails for the YouTube video that I put for this on this particular video. So I was having to go back to a previous episode to try and grab a screenshot of us so that I could put together a new thumbnail panel. Anyway, so I went back and watched the May episode, and I'm getting to the point here. This has to do with an ISTE announcement. And I went back to the May episode where I had a rant. And frequently, if you watch these, I frequently will rant about different things.
I think we both do.
This time I ranted big time because back in May, Google had just announced that they made Google Vids free for their business customers. And I was livid that they did that for their business customers, because if there ever was a tool that students and teachers could use, it is Google Vids. And Google Vids had previously only been available if you were on the Education Plus version. Well, guess what at ISTE?
It's free!
Google Vids is free for everybody now! So yay! So maybe it was my rant. That is what did it.
Yes,
it was my rant that did it. Anyway, Google Vids is now free for all education customers. If you have not used Google Vids, let me tell you, you are missing out. This is the easy video editing application that has been missing from the Google platform since inception, right? Mm-hmm. It is part of Drive, and it is slick. It looks just like a Google Slides or a Google Doc. It has the same interface. It has the same kind of menus. And it's really kind of a simple, basic, but powerful video editing tool.
Yeah, I've used it real recently for, what was I? I was just recording some videos in it recently. Some kind of how-to videos for some things that we're doing here at the service unit. I was like, you know what? I'm creating a video. Instead of using Camtasia, which I'm used to and is my go-to for a lot of things, let me use Google Vids. I want to do a deep dive. How does this work? Especially with kind of back accessibility pieces with captions. It will auto-caption those for you too with AI to auto-caption it. So you don't have to worry about that. But it is a very simple way for you to start creating videos. You're able to clip the videos and trim the videos at the end, add in like arrows if you're wanting to point to something. It's a great place for not only you, but your students to create videos right within Google that can then be uploaded right into a presentation or a document or shared via email or downloaded or played right from Drive so that it's right there and it's all in one place. And you don't have to go and find a Screencastify, a Screencast-O-Matic that limits you to 5 minutes on the free version. And you can bring in other video that you've already created. You can bring in images. You can even, which is great for kids too, a piece of it, put in the text that you want for each slide. And I don't know if this is on the free side because I have my paid side, but AI will do the audio over for you on it as well.
That you need to have the AI education add-on in order to be able to use the AI tools in Vids. But Vids by itself is so powerful. And like Otis, I have a favorite video editing platform that is ScreenPal. Used to be Screencast-O-Matic. I've used it for probably 15 years to create my videos. And had never really used it. I was using it on the Windows platform. I'd never really used it on the Chromebook. And I was doing a AI and education workshop for a Wayne State College graduate class a couple weeks ago, and I needed to update some of my videos. Well, I tried to pull up ScreenPal, and it's in the Chrome version, Chrome OS version, it's a stripped down editor. So I didn't have access to all of the editing tools that where I would be able to trim some of the beginning, where I could hide my cursor when I went down to hit stop. Sometimes I like to do that, and I was really at a loss. What was I going to do? Well, of course, I turned to Google Vids. And I tell you what, I made several videos that week with Google Vids. And then this week, I actually made some videos on the AI tools in Google Classroom. And I only used Google Vids. And it was slick. The other thing that Google Vids has is a whole library of stock photos, stock music, stock video clips. So it's really your one-stop shop for everything that you need. Video editing, streamlined, simple, easy to use, but yet it can be powerful. So those videos that I produced this week and uploaded to my YouTube channel, those were done with Google Vids. Love Google Vids. So thank you, Google, for listening to my rant and giving it free to all education customers. Yeah. Because I'm sure that's what did it.
Yeah, it was. We're going to claim that it was anyway. But it is a great resource for you and your students to be able to use. So another one of the rants that Mickie and I tend to go on is, all right, we're going to tell you about this tool that you can use in classroom, but you can't use it unless you are on a paid version. Well, some of that has changed now that you can use it on the free version in Google Classroom.
Yes. So also at ISTE time, Google announced Gemini in Classroom. So there are now 30-ish tools that are available on the Gemini tab in Google Classroom that will do a variety of teacher tasks. So if you've used a third-party tool like a Magic School, like a Brisk, like an Eduade, okay, the things that those tools can do are now built into Google Classroom.
Yeah, that helps. So you're not having to be in multiple places at once if you're using Google Classroom with that. So it's going to help out and help streamline a lot of those things a lot quicker.
Yeah. So just to give you kind of a simple rundown of these different tools, there's two different types of tools in Gemini in Classroom. There are what I call template tools, which are very similar to those third-party tools that you may have used, in that you fill out a template. It asks you for some information before it gives you the answer. So for example, you can do things like create a lesson plan, create a quiz, re-level text, create a rubric, create a vocabulary list. Those are some of the general types of template tools. And if we look at creating a quiz, which is a template-based tool, what you supply are the grade level, the topic that you're looking for, and the number of questions that you want. Gemini will then, based on that information, generate learning objectives for that topic, which you can edit, you can delete, you can remove, you can change, you can add your own objectives. And then you can select the question type with multiple choice, true, false, short answer, and there was one more in there. And you select the question type, or you allow Gemini to select the question type for you, and then it creates those questions based on that particular topic.
And as always, with all AI, go and check to make sure it's accurate as well, and especially if it's you're having it create the answer key, that it's giving you the right answer and it's the way that you want it to be.
100%. Never add just as is. You always have to verify. Just because you're using Gemini in Classroom doesn't mean it's not going to hallucinate. It's not going to give you incorrect information. So you do have to double check it. And then once you get those questions, what you can do is you can either add it to a class as an assignment, which will create an assignment or a material, which will create a form with those questions. You can export it to docs, or you can export it to forms. It will set it up as a quiz. If you use the export to forms, it will set it up as a quiz, but it doesn't attach it to an assignment in Classroom. So the thing that you need to know with the template-based tools in Gemini in Classroom is that that information is not saved. If you want to save that conversation that you had, you have to export it somehow.
Yeah, so making sure, that template, there's what you want, save it, regardless of whether you're going to use it or not, save it is always a good thing to do. And this may be one of those that, hey, I'm filling this out. I'm going to call it a sandbox course for my class. I'm going to do all of this in a sandbox. That way it doesn't clutter up your main course that you're wanting to do that with, because you can always then copy it from that sandbox course over, which would be very helpful on that piece of it. I like to think of, the way Mickie was talking about this, the way she's talking about template tools with like a Magic School and an EduAid. Even in School AI has a piece of that as well. It's starting the prompt for you. You're not having to create the prompt all the way yourself. You're just having it to give the information, and it's already kind of got the background. It's just needing that little bit more information for you.
Now, that is great. Otis just gave you a great tip right there, and that is to create a sandbox classroom where you're doing all of this Gemini stuff in there, because once you save it as an assignment or a material or a quiz in that sandbox classroom, you could always share it to another classroom. So that's a great tip.
Yeah, that way it doesn't clutter up your regular classes and your kids are going like, what is this? Or you're trying to go in and find something and you can't find it. It's in that sandbox course.
Yeah, that's a great tip. So that's one type of tool that's in Gemini in Classroom. The second type of tool that's in Gemini in Classroom, and by the way, I created tutorial videos using Google Vids on these 3 topics just this week. So those are available on my YouTube channel. The second type of tool that's available in Gemini Classroom is Gemini, what I call prompting tools, Gemini prompting tools. And what happens when you use one of these tools, it's denoted by that kind of Gemini sparkle. I call it a sparkle icon or emoji. That's how you
star.
The star, that you see what's referencing Gemini or any of these tools. These tools will open up a Gemini chat with a predefined prompt already put in there. And what you need to do when you click on one of these, and so what can you do with the Gemini prompting tools? Things like brainstorm real world examples, create DOK questions, write decodable texts, create a jigsaw, a class syllabus, a math story word problem. So those are some of the things that you can do with these Gemini prompting tools. And what happens when you select which one you want to use, it will open up a Gemini chat in a new window and with a prompt predefined, pre-built in it. And when you go to these, when you look at this prompt, which you can do and expand the prompt, it is a detailed prompt. Like it is paragraphs and paragraphs of information that Google has set up and fed into Gemini ahead of time so that you don't have to. And what all of these Gemini prompt tools in Classroom will do is take you through, ask you questions about how you want Gemini to help you do this task. For example, I'll just kind of go through one of these. The one that I did in my tutorial video is refresh knowledge on a topic. So let's say you haven't taught a particular topic for a long time, or you've never taught it, okay? And you need to get refreshed yourself before you can actually teach it. Refresh knowledge on a topic is one of the examples. But the beginning of the prompt tells Gemini who it is, what role or what part they are playing, and what their task is. So for example, you are an experienced educator who specializes in adult learning sciences. Because remember, it's helping you refresh your memory on the topic that you need to teach. It says your task is to help me refresh my knowledge on an upcoming unit or topic. I need your help to design a clear, detailed, factually accurate lesson plan with clear, easy to navigate formatting, and it goes on and on. It is extremely detailed, this prompt that Google has predefined in there. How do you think that could be helpful?
That's going to be helpful to a lot of teachers, especially, if it is a topic, as Mickie said, you haven't taught in a while, or you're in a new grade level. Maybe you've gone from second grade to fifth grade, and there's quite a difference in maybe a science topic that you're needing a little help with to refresh because it's been a while. That is going to be very helpful for you as a teacher. Also giving yourself maybe a little bit of pre-teaching for yourself on a professional development that you have coming up so that you're ready for that topic if it's something new as well, to help refresh it and bring it back to the top that it's good, or you're good and you just want maybe just another little slightly different angle to it. This helps refresh that maybe something, oh yeah, and I can add this, that you're good on it, to add even more to what you already know.
Now, don't get us wrong. We know that you could go to Gemini yourself and say, hey, Gemini, I'm teaching this coming up. I haven't taught it for a while. Can you help refresh my memory and get me up to speed on this? Yes, you could put in a prompt like this. But if you look at the prompt that Google has already predefined for you, you will see the level of detail that they have used to get Gemini to quickly act. And rather than you going back and forth multiple times with Gemini to get it to do, for you to get it to do what you want it to do. So it's the prompts that Google has created in these Gemini prompting pieces within Google Classroom that are really specific, but know that you can go in and edit the prompt. So if you try that prompt and it doesn't work, you can go in and change any piece of it, any part of it, and rerun it again. So that's the second type of tool that's available in Gemini for Classroom. I would imagine that Google will continue to add prompts in here. Again, these are similar to things that you've probably been doing in other tools, but it's right there in Classroom. Now, these Gemini prompting tools, because it's opening up a new Gemini chat, those conversations will be saved. So you can always go back into Gemini and review those conversations. The template-based tools that we talked about previously, those are not saved. You have to export them to get them to save that information that's being created there. But these Gemini prompting tools, when it's opening up a new Gemini chat window, those will be saved.
Yeah, so if you're in there and you're not seeing a new window opened up, save it. If you're seeing a new window opened up, you're probably okay.
Yeah. So we should probably mention then that one of the other things that they announced at ISTE regarding Gemini and NotebookLM, which we're going to transition to and talk about here in a minute, is that the Gemini app is now available to students of all ages. So last year in November, they opened it up to 13 and up. Now it's available to students of all ages, and it is now a core workspace service, which means it's under the core workspace agreement. Last year, it was an additional service. Now it's part of the core workspace service. So you get all of the, what am I trying to say? You get all of the
data protections.
Yes, the data protection that you get with the other core workspace apps.
That's basically meaning that anything that is put in there, it's not looked at by any other humans. It's not used to train the AI model. It is there. It is those same services there. Your administrators, or if you are an administrator of the domain, it's not under the applications. It has its own artificial intelligence Gemini tab to it to turn on. NotebookLM and Gemini can be turned on and off separately as well. I think the automatic is on, so it's possibly on for everybody right now. If you can't get to either, talk to your administrator, your domain administrator, to get those turned on. They can turn on, say, NotebookLM just for teachers, or Gemini just for teachers, until you're ready to allow that out to students. But those data protections are great to be able to have. Obviously, still, anonymous data. Don't put student names, don't put school names, don't put those kinds of things in there. Still keep it anonymous, still watch for accuracy and everything, but the data protections where it's not being looked at, it's not being used to train the AI model, those are all there, which has allowed them to open it up for all students.
Now, just because Google has said Gemini is available to all students does not mean that we are saying Gemini should be available to your students. I, at this point, if I was still in a district, I would still counsel my district to keep that turned off for students. Unless your teachers have a really good understanding of how generative artificial intelligence works, of the good, the bad, and the ugly associated with generative artificial intelligence, I would not be turning this tool on for students.
Yeah,
that's how I feel still at this point.
Being very, very careful, and that is a district by district what you want to do. Obviously, Mickie and I live in this world, so we're always in it. And reach out to your ESU person too. Another plug for your ESU folks, because we've been doing a lot with AI as well, but also consult with your attorneys too on some of those things, because there's a lot of cases, and your school policy, because I'm pretty sure your school attorneys have helped write some of that school policy if you have that on there.
Yes. Okay. So we mentioned Gemini in Classroom. Another thing that Google has been pushing hard is NotebookLM. And you want to explain NotebookLM?
Yes. NotebookLM allows you to upload documents. So it could be a Google Doc, a Google Sheet, a Google presentation, a PDF. On the free side, up to 50 documents in a notebook. And then the artificial intelligence is off of just the documents that you put in. It's not using the whole large language model. It's using just the specific documents you've allowed it to look at to create basically a chatbot that you can go through and you could look at. As an example, all right, I'm going to put in the ESU 7 policy notebook, all of our policies, and have an AI conversation with that where it'll go and find and explain to me. There are some things that have happened just recently with this 2 weeks ago, some things that they've added. Here are some really cool things with it. Whatever I put in there, one, I can create an audio podcast and be able to do it in 4 different ways. There are 4 different options there. How long? What do you specifically want it to work on?
Now Otis is telling you things that you don't have on the free version. Because on the free version, you don't get to specify those types of things for the audio podcast.
So there's the audio podcast. There's a video. So it'll create a video in there for you. It will create a mind map. So you can kind of have a mind map that goes with that. A couple of the new things that have popped up. You can create flashcards. So students could put in their information that they're working for, and it can create flashcards for them. It could also create a quiz for them as well. So these are some new things that have popped up there. Up to 50 on the free version, 50 documents that you put in there. As I said, PDFs, you can import right from Google. One thing I tried the other day just to see what would happen is I said, all right, here is a video podcast, create a transcript for me from this video. That then you could say, all right, this is the one I want, create a quiz or some flashcards for me. So that can be very helpful. Once again, up to your school if you want to turn this on for students or not, and being careful. It's kind of the same thing Mickie and I just talked about with Gemini on that piece of it as well. One thing that they just announced 2 days ago, I have it linked in our notes that'll probably be put in the show notes. They have an option called that they're rolling out. I haven't seen it yet on mine, and I'm on rapid release, called Learning Guide, which is very similar to guided learning in Gemini, where it's going to walk students through the process without giving them the answer. That's kind of a neat new feature, both in Gemini and coming to NotebookLM as well.
Yeah, so Otis mentioned that you can have up to 50 documents. It's 50 different files in a NotebookLM. So those would include anything that's in your drive, PDFs, MP3 files. You could do links to YouTube videos or even links to websites, and it will take that website information and add it into the NotebookLM. So it's really more than just documents. You can also include some of that other information. Otis mentioned the flashcard activity that's fairly new to NotebookLM. And I just read an article yesterday from a teacher who said the flashcard option in NotebookLM is a game changer because of how much Quizlet has restricted its flashcard site. And so that was one thing I always had teachers asking me when Quizlet started locking down some of its features and what you couldn't do with the flashcards. What's an alternative for flashcards? Well, now it's built into NotebookLM.
And I'm looking on the free version, and I can customize the audio overview on the free version.
You can put in a prompt.
I can customize to either a deep dive, a brief, which is a bite-sized overview, a critique, or a debate.
Well, look at that. Otis is teaching me something.
And then on flashcards, you can select the level, easy, medium, or hard. Video overview, you can go, what should the hosts focus on? And you can change the language too. They have several different languages in there. So if you wanted to put it in Spanish, you could do that. So you can change it. So this would be huge for a Spanish class, putting something in there, an audio overview, having a podcast for a Spanish or a French class that is that conversational Spanish that's going on. As I said, the audio overview is only 2 hosts. That's it. There's no more than that.
And it's the same 2 hosts every time, and they talk in the same way every time. So you can't customize that on the free version.
But it's there. It's an option. I think they're coming with some more NotebookLM kinds of pieces there, which the one that we said 3 hours ago, NotebookLM and Gems in Google Classroom. That has started rolling out today. So you may not have it right away. It may be up to 2 weeks to get out there. But they did say NotebookLM and Gems are coming to Classroom.
So what that means is the teacher could create the NotebookLM and be able to share it directly in Classroom. But again, your students would need to have NotebookLM turned on in order for them to be able to utilize the notebook that the teacher created. And I can see some real power in teacher-created NotebookLMs, and even maybe you have some AP students that are doing some research. I think maybe NotebookLM could be useful there too, but I just don't want that to take place of students or teachers, adults doing the cognition of, themselves, right? I don't want this to be an easy shortcut answer to that. I still think it's important that we think through these things on our own before we're synthesizing it through an AI. So, you got to balance that piece.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. It's you choose how much AI, when you want to do it. And that's the same for your school. When do you want them to be able to do it? When do you want it to be that they got to work through it themselves?
Yeah. And also, we should mention that NotebookLM is now a core service also. So it's part of that core service agreement you sign when you sign up for your Google.
Yeah, and it's under that, I think it's generative AI is what that tab is in the admin console. It's under that along with Gemini. But
you can have NotebookLM enabled for students and not have Gemini turned on for students. So those are 2 separate controls that operate independently.
It is not an all or none kind of thing, which is kind of nice with that too.
Okay, so that kind of wraps up the ISTE announcements and also some breaking news as far as NotebookLM being a part of Classroom right now. There were some other announcements that have happened since we last talked in May that we wanted to cover. This one is fairly new. Okay, so I really feel like Google is trying to cram AI down our throats and they're packing it in everywhere, okay? So if you've done a Google search lately, you have seen the AI summaries that pop up at the top. I hate those AI summaries. I hate them. I wish I could turn them off. I scroll right past them. I don't use them.
It depends on what it is. It actually helped me out with some home remodeling we're doing, and yeah, putting texture on a wall with a ruler. It kind of helped me yesterday. So
Okay, well, it helps.
sometimes it helps me, sometimes it doesn't.
I generally scroll past the AI update. So basically, Google is trying to cram this, and you may have even seen now in search, you can turn on AI mode, which again, I ignore every time that pops up. So I have not turned on AI mode. I don't know what it is. I don't want it in my search at this point in time.
Yeah. And I don't either. It's there. I'll scroll past it if it's there, sometimes knowing what I'm going for.
So all of that to say is that Gemini is now coming to Chrome. Okay, so what you're going to end up seeing is the Gemini icon, the little sparkle icon up at the top of your Chrome bar. And you're going to be able to do things in Gemini in Chrome by just clicking on that. It's going to open up a Gemini chat. I don't know. I haven't seen it. I haven't gotten access to it yet. But they are letting Google admin know that you can pre-configure this for your domain so that when it does hit, it's either on or it's off. Okay. And my recommendation would be that it's off. And I probably would recommend it's off for everyone. Mm-hmm. I mean, maybe I would turn it on for adults. I don't know, but I definitely would have it off for students.
I'd at least have it off to start with. As well, just until you know what it is and how it's going to work. I'm lucky enough here at Issue 7. We have our Issue 7 domain. I have another domain that I can mess around, and I'm not worried about messing up. And I'll probably have it on with that so that I can, when people ask me about it, I'm going to know about it too.
So that was just announced within the last couple of weeks that you can pre-configure that before it hits. Before it actually rolls out. I don't know what version of Chrome. I guess I should have researched that, but I don't know what version of Chrome that's going to. But soon, that's coming soon. Sorry, just looking through the notes, and I thought of something else I was going to say regarding that. Oh, I want to go back just briefly to students using Gemini, NotebookLM. In the school domain. Okay. The only way, if you've used a third-party AI tool with students, like a Magic School, like a School AI, like a Brisk, with students, you know that in all of those tools, you have a history of what students are saying. Their chat history is there. It will flag if they're saying something inappropriate. It will flag on the teacher, right? So that you can review how students are interacting with the AI. And so a lot of teachers question whether or not, okay, so if we turn Gemini on for students, do we have the ability to see what they chat? No, teachers do not. The only way that you can see that is by the Google admin. Whoever is in control of your domain has to go into Vault to review those chats. That's the only way right now that you can see how a student has been chatting with Gemini.
Yeah, that's part of their data privacy pieces with this.
Yeah. So again, that's probably another reason why I would caution schools from turning Gemini on for students, is because it's a little tedious to go through and look up the chat log, because you have to go through Vault. And generally there's probably one or maybe two people within your school district that actually have access to Vault and that can do those Vault discoveries. And they're not going to want to be going in every day to randomly look at some students' Gemini chat history.
They're going to need to hire another person to go through, and that's all they're going to do is Gemini chat history.
Yeah. So if you are really concerned about what students are talking about with the AI, then I'm going to counsel you to use one of those third-party tools where the teacher has a transcript of interaction with the student and the AI.
Especially younger students. If you're doing that with younger students, so you can see that and start teaching them the right way to use it. That whole digital citizenship piece we talk about as well.
Okay, so now back to our other updates. GEMS. We've mentioned GEMS a couple of times. Can you explain GEMS? GEMS
is basically, it's a chatbot that you use a lot that you get to configure yourself for what you want. An example of a gem that I set up some ADA things is creating alt text for an image for social media. I got it from Eric Kurtz. I have that gem set up. All I have to do is click on that gem, put in what I want, and it starts that kind of chat bot there. So it's that custom chat bot for you, for your situation, for something that you do multiple times. Say maybe you do it multiple times in a day, multiple times in a week, that it's there, it's ready to go. It's a chat bot that's set up. Boom, you're off. You don't have to enter in that same prompt every single time. That big prompt's there. You just have to put a little bit of information in. It is very similar to the Gemini prompt tools is what I'm going to call it. It's already set up right there. Except you're setting it up. Those Gemini prompt tools in Classroom, it's ready to go. Plug in that little bit of information and it gives you what you want.
Yeah. And so GEMS is part of Gemini. And they rolled out sometime last year. And immediately people were like, well, I want to be able to share this. Mm-hmm. Okay. And you couldn't. You could copy and paste the prompt and share that with somebody else and they could build it in their own Gemini. But you couldn't just share that gem with somebody else to use. So like if, for example, at Norfolk, one of the gems that I set up was I put in our instructional model, put in all of the documents that had to do with our instructional model. And I was able to query and ask questions based on making sure that I was creating a lesson that had all of those different components in it. But now gems can be shared inside and outside the organization. And there is an admin control for that. So you would have to do a little configuring in the admin console in order to be able to allow that.
Yeah, that is helpful. So if somebody has something, can I get that? Yeah, share it just like you would a Google Doc rather than having to share a big old long prompt and then they have to put that in themselves.
Yeah. Quizzes, Otis kind of mentioned this a little bit earlier. Quizzes in Gemini are now available to all users. And what quizzes in Gemini will actually open up a Canvas in Gemini, not Canvas, the learning management system. It gets really confusing. But Canvas in Gemini is actually a place that opens up another tab, another panel, and you can edit the output. So it's kind of like, I don't know. I'm not sure how to explain that better.
In a way, it's if you're able to do it, say in Google Docs, and it creates it in Google Docs for you, obviously on the paid side, then you can go in and edit. It's almost like it's creating its own doc or form right within Gemini. You're able to edit the output before you export it out.
Right. And with Canvas, you can export it out to a doc, but maybe whatever you created would actually be better as a Google site. You can actually take it to a Google site. You can get the HTML code behind it and paste it into a Google site. So Canvas is kind of another tool that's within Gemini, but that's where your quizzes are built, is in that Canvas piece of Gemini.
Yeah. We've talked about Vids and Drive, so we can hop over that. One little change they made in Google Slides now, the arrow keys, instead of big jumps moving objects, it's the little jumps, and then you have to hold down the shift key to move the big jump. So they're just little pixels up and down.
It'll move an object one pixel at a time, which is a control that they have needed to have for a long time. But now that's available in Google Slides.
Which is also nice there.
Okay, another feature of Gemini is, did you know that you can create illustrated storybooks in Gemini? This was a feature that Google had released and wasn't actually going to put it into the education version of Gemini, which to me is beyond. I mean, this is perfect for teachers and educational use. But you can put in a prompt. Let's say you have students who you have your vocabulary list for the week, right? Your wonders list for the week. And you want to create a story using those vocabulary words. You can put in those vocabulary words, pick a topic, pick kind of an output that you want, and Storybook will create an illustrated storybook that you can print out and give to your students, or you can actually show it full screen and it will read the storybook to your students.
Yeah, this is really cool. The Gemini Storybook, it allows you it's a unique 10-page storybook. So you're kind of limited on the number of pages. But being able to do that and have that in there with those those stories, your vocab words that really gives them something new there as well is really helpful.
Or if you had some phonics practice, specific phonics skills that you needed your students to practice, and you needed a quick story to practice those skills, you could put that kind of a prompt into Gemini or into Storybook as well. I also saw one that created a coloring book. And you could print that out and kids could color along while they read the story. And
here would also be, Mickie talking phonics, making some of your decodables. So you can make your own decodables with the words that you're wanting to do or sounds that you're wanting it to do. It'll make that decodable for you for kids that are learning to read.
That is available in Gemini. And okay, so not Gemini. Here's one of those very few things that wasn't a Gemini-based update. You can actually manage, and who knows, there may be AI behind this now that I'm saying this. But if it wasn't publicized that way, you can now manage your email subscriptions in Gmail. So you sign up for all of those newsletters, or you buy something and you get subscribed to that store's newsletter or whatever. Now there's a tab in Gmail called subscriptions, email subscriptions, and you can see them all in one place, and you can actually unsubscribe to them from right there.
That's very helpful. And it's over on the left-hand side in your Gmail. You may need to click on more, and then it just says manage subscriptions. It pulls them all up right there. Do your manage piece rather than having to go into each one and say unsubscribe or mark as spam and unsubscribe. And it has it all in one place, which is nice and handy if you're wanting to clean up your Gmail inbox.
Yes, and I know I need to clean mine up. Okay, since Google Vids is now free for everyone, you can now create a Google Vid from a Google slide. So if you have a slide deck that you would like to turn into a video, maybe you have a slide deck that you use to present to a lesson to students, and for whatever reason, a student or two is gone, and you want to add your audio overview to that, you could upload the slides to Vids and then use the microphone within Vids to be able to record over the top of the slideshow.
Yeah, or even enter your text and have some of that done there so that it's there. I have not tried that yet, but excited to.
I haven't tried it either, but that is available. And then there is a new admin setting that allows you to control Google Forms responses and who can respond to the form. If whether or not your users can respond to a form that was created externally, so outside your domain, and whether or not you can share the form externally. So maybe you want to lock your students down so that they're not sharing forms to an external domain. You can do that with this admin control setting.
And that can be very helpful too, especially for younger kids not wanting to send those out or respond to ones from outside your domain.
Exactly.
One last thing that I saw a couple days ago that I added in here, it's another kind of AI piece too. It's called Google Mixboard. This is from Google Labs, so it is still in Google Labs right now. So it could come in, it could go away. I briefly played with this and saw the video on it saying, all right, here's what I'm trying to create. I want to create this. Oh, I like these images that you've created. Now do this to those images while you take away the others. It's almost like a whiteboard, I'm going to say in Canva, but it's using AI to create these, and you keep going with visualizing ideas and ideation. I know the video on talking about Mixboard shows of, hey, create embroidery patterns of flowers. All right, put these on this picture of these jeans that I want to wear. Put them all in there. So you can visualize what those embroidery pieces are going to be on there. Here's my classroom. Here are some things that I want on the wall. Give me some arrangements of how it's going to look on my classroom wall, how it would look visually appealing with what it is. So it helps you visualize things without having to put them up there and then take them down and put them back up or move them around. It allows you to do that if you have some images and everything too.
Okay, so I think I saw this, but I didn't actually look at it very closely. So Mixboard makes me think of Mood Board. Mm-hmm. Is that?
Yeah, it might be. I didn't play much with Mood Board. But
well, but what I'm saying, like, maybe mood board is not the thing.
it could be
a vision board where you're like visualizing where you want to be in 10 years.
Yeah.
You put all the things up there. Is that's kind
That's
of what
very
popped
similar.
into my mind.
Yeah, it's kind of like a vision board, but it can be more of a, all right in the moment, this is how I want this to look. It can help you with your vision board. It's very similar, but along with AI to do some of those things. So it's something out there. Once again, it's in Google Labs, so it may go away or it may stay and become a Google product too.
Yeah. So, wow. That was a lot.
In an hour. That's good for us.
That is good for us. And I really feel like this episode was AI heavy, but I also kind of feel like maybe Google hasn't been working on anything else other than AI and forcing AI into its products.
Yeah, it's here, and that's kind of where everything's going. So I think they are. Will there be some more updates coming from some other things? I'm sure there will be, but we'll see them when they come.
I hope so. Yeah. So we want to thank you for joining us for our first episode of the 25-26 school year.
And us in person.
Together. We think this worked out okay. I guess we'll have to see when we listen to the audio, watch it back and see how it worked. But yeah, so we are always we love staying on top of the Google updates, and we love bringing them to you. So we'll be back in a couple of months with another episode. But if you have any Google things that you would like to share, we love having guests, and we haven't had a guest in a really, really long time.
No,
so if you are doing something cool and innovative, or, and remember, it does, just because it might not seem that cool to you, but it could be really cool. So if you're doing something really cool, or you'd like to come on and talk Google with us, we'd love to have you.
Yeah, whether it is anything in Google, anything that you're cool that you're doing with AI with your students, anything at all. We like to chat. We always plan for a half hour, but we always go longer, and we'll fit it into your schedule. We'll make it work into your schedule if you want to join us. And we'd be glad to have you on.
Absolutely. And as you have new people in your school districts, now would be a great time to ask them if they would be interested in joining our little Google Educator group. We have a Google group that we send out announcements. We try not to bombard you with a bunch of announcements, and we let you know when we're having our next live stream. So please invite others in your district to join us in our Google Educator group.
And I will say, this is called GEG Nebraska. And I know we have some folks from some other states that listen and watch this too. Even if you're from another state, we'd love to have you on as well to hear what's going on in your state. Because, yes, we're GEG Nebraska, go Big Red. But hey, we'd love to hear from others around as well.
Well, we want to say thank you for joining us. If you're watching the recording, thank you for watching the recording. And if you have any questions or comments, please be sure to reach out to Otis or I, and we will see you again on our next episode of GEG Nebraska.
See you, everybody.
Bye-bye.